On the 6th of November 2020, King Von would punch Quando Rondo in the face. But little did he know that this one punch would end his life and ruin the lives of several others, one of them even being his very own friend, Lil Durk, who might now even be facing the death penalty for his actions. Our story begins at around 3 AM in the morning on November the 6th, 2020, when an angry King Von would be informed about Quando Rondo being at a nearby hookah lounge. Von would be driven to the location where he was later joined by his security, and once he spotted Quando, he got out of his bulletproof SUV, and that's when he threw the first punch, knocking Quando down to the floor. Quando's friend Lil Tim, who also happened to be there, noticed that his friend was getting an ass whooping, so he decided to fire the first few shots in King Von's direction, while 2 other off-duty police officers began to open fire as well. In total, 6 people were shot that night, with 3 of them later being pronounced deceased. The deceased men were King Von and his good friend Sleddy, who was shot by police while trying to shoot Lil Tim. While Lil Tim did manage to take out King Von, he didn't come out unscathed, as he too would also get hit, as documented on an Instagram live recorded by a scared Quando Rondo frantically trying to get his friend medical attention while also avoiding O-Block members.
Come on, bit bro, you got this shit, dog. Come on, cuz, just keep breathing, bit bro. Just keep breathing, cuz.
Hold on, you can't move on that fast,
You got it,
bro.
my fault.
Yeah.
Man, he's shot, what you mean wrong side?
Lil Tim would receive medical attention and would survive the shooting, but he was later charged with the murder of King Von. Lil Durk wasn't with King Von on that night, likely because they had a prior case that forbid them from coming into contact with each other, but he would immediately find out about the hit while he was live on Instagram. After King Von's death, the internet came out to call on Lil Durk to slide for Von, and it wasn't only Lil Durk who was called out, but also O-Block members like Nuwap, who was there on the night that King Von died. He was also called out to get revenge for the hit of his friend.
Say no, bro.
On God, I won't. Listen.
Alright.
When y'all go and slide on Lil Tim, right?
Hey, go ahead, gang. Then I say don't say no, man. I don't know about him. I'm beating control. Hey, out of that, it's over with. I'm out of there.
While Lil Durk couldn't answer for the death of his good friend in violence, he did however answer in songs, as he would release his album The Voice with the tribute picture of him and King Von on the cover. But while the OTF members were in sadness, it was the opposite for Quando Rondo and his team, as they would openly celebrate the loss of O-Block's biggest shooter, and they would be given even more reason to celebrate when Lil Tim was acquitted of the murder of King Von, as it was justified as self-defense, meaning Lil Tim had just gotten away with murder. Following this ruling, Quando and Tim would openly release multiple disrespectful songs about both King Von and Lil Durk, but Quando would take the disrespect to a whole new low when he released the music video for his song Soul Reaper. He depicted a man that had Lil Durk's likeness being thrown into a trunk and later being executed. Quando was openly dissing members of Chicago's deadliest gang, and it seemed like he didn't have a care on his mind, as seen on the video of him visiting his block with his mama, while he looked like he was feeling like a president.
50 on me! Hey, y'all boy, I'm about to go in the store, be on the lookout. Alright. Okay, Trey. Going on. Why around my dudes stuck in the day? Why? My dudes, I got my little all around and shit. Hey, Phoenix.
While Quando celebrated every chance that he got, his enemies were constantly planning for his life, as it's rumored that a bounty of $1 million was placed on his head, and at around this time was when the bodies began to drop, as one of his close friends, Fendi, was gunned down.
Man dead, and police are scrambling to figure out who killed him. Here's a look at the crime scene on the west side of Savannah, where you can see investigators gathering evidence for hours overnight. Now, that shooting happened early this morning on West 38th and Bullock Streets.
Now, as of now, it's still unclear who did the crime or which set was responsible. Even after the death of his fallen soldier on April the 9th, 2022, Quando would still continue on his way to LA with his team. He would even go live on multiple occasions with his friend Lil Bob. But things would take a turn for the worst when the boys entered a gas station, as armed men in masks would exit out of a white BMW when they began to open fire. Quando was not hit, however his cousin Lil Bob didn't get so lucky, as he was brutally shot and pronounced dead later on. Reporters on the sidelines managed to capture a video of Quando reacting to his friend's riddled body getting dragged out of the car. This very clip would go viral and would later on be used to disrespect him in the future. With Lil Pop now gone, Quando was left with a huge hole in his heart, as seen by the many tribute posts he would make of his fallen friend. It's clear to see that this hit was orchestrated without any remorse or regard for human life, as the killers didn't even care that it was broad daylight. In fact, it was almost like the assassination that took the life of FBG Durk. Keep in mind that that murder was committed by members of King Von's gang as retaliation for dissing them, just as Quando had been doing. Just as Quando had been celebrating hard for the death of King Von, it was now time for the O Block and OTF members to rejoice, as multiple of them would post pictures of King Von on their story celebrating Quando's loss. And some of them would even go out as far as calling out Lil Pop by name.
Tell her who we smoking. We smoking what's dude name? Lil Pop at the pizza.
And Quando's no chant would become a highlight in their disrespect, as O Block affiliates would bring it up on multiple occasions on Instagram Lives.
Y'all killing me with these nose. No! They killing me. Look at their nose. They killing me. Y'all killing me with these nose, man. No!
Even Lil Durk had to join in when he would sample Quando's cries on his song Same Side. But that was nothing compared to Chicago Black disciple, Famous Richard, who released a song that started off with a skit of him mocking Quando's friend.
Sheriff's deputies pulling out a man who had been shot in an SUV. This man, a passenger in that car, frantic at the sight.
Despite all the disrespect though, Quando would find the strength to pick himself up in time for Pop's funeral, where he and his friends could be seen rapping the color blue. The beef between Quando and Lil Durk seemingly died down, as they wouldn't diss each other as often as they used to, and this might have been because the score was finally settled, as Lil Durk seems to have alluded to that when he claimed that people don't ask him to slide for Von anymore.
Man, what are you talking about? By the slide for Von comments. I don't know if people still say it. They used to say it, but you also mentioned a song. They be like, they be saying slide for Von. I think they trolling me. Yo, by the way, them songs is fire. I ain't gonna lie.
For some reason, I just don't see them comments no more.
By now, it had been more than 2 years after Lil Pop's death, and it seemed like there would be no justice for him. But for Quando, that was the least of his problems, as he was due to serve time in prison, but you gotta click on the video at the end to find out what he did. Anyway, back to Lil Pop. Over 2 years after his demise, his family and friends thought that the case would go cold and would remain unsolved. Up until the 24th of October 2024, multiple OTF members would be arrested in connection to the murder. But as serious as their crimes were, the arrests didn't make any headlines, as the big headline would be made the next day when it was reported that Lil Durk was detained by US Marshals on a murder-for-hire charge.
And rapper Lil Durk has been arrested and charged with a murder-for-hire plot. The Chicago native, whose real name is Dirk Banks, was arrested in Florida by the U.S. Marshals Service. The 32-year-old's arrest comes as 5 other people in Chicago were arrested in connection with the investigation.
The indictment carefully described how Lil Durk and his associates orchestrated the plan. Before I carry on, I would like to note that none of the information I'm about to present to you has been proven factual by a court yet, so as of now, all of it is still alleged. Once he arrived in LA, Quando and Lil Pop checked in with some local gang members, letting them know of their stay in the city. For those of you who don't know, checking in is a practice often done by rappers visiting another city, where they would mainly exchange money in exchange for protection. And by protection, I mean they would pay off goons in advance so that they don't rob them or interrupt their shows while they're in their city. While Quando thought that checking in would guarantee his safety, he was badly mistaken, as it's rumored that after checking in, a goon would inform Lil Durk's people of Quando's presence in the city. And immediately after this, Lil Durk acted as fast as he could, as he told one of his associates to book a flight for all of them, but without using his name or any name of anybody that's associated with him. And one of the other instructions that Durk gave was that no flights should be booked under any of the OTF credit cards. But his boy was an idiot, as he would do the opposite, as he would actually go on and book the flights under the OTF credit cards. Once the flights were booked, the team headed from Chicago to California, where Lil Pop and Quando were. It seemed like Lil Durk wanted to make sure that the job was done properly because it's reported that he was on the plane with the OTF members, meaning Lil Durk might have been in the city on the day of the hit. Once the OTF members got a hold of Quando's location, they stopped his black Cadillac Escalade with the white rented BMW. The man patiently waited for the opportunity, and they finally got it when Quando would pull over for gas. The three armed men in ski masks exited the vehicle and started opening shots at Quando's SUV. Quando managed to duck while he was inside the car, but the same could not be said for his cousin Lil Pop, who was outside the car, as he took in multiple bullet wounds because of his compromised position. After the shooters had fled, Quando got his partner into the car and drove off, but later stopped just under a mile away when emergency services would be called up to the area. Once the emergency services arrived, they tried to resuscitate Bob before transporting him to the hospital, where he later passed away. After the hit, OTF members would reportedly drive over to a local In-N-Out in the same car they did the hit with. But despite only doing the job halfway, they were seemingly there to discuss how exactly the money would be split. After the business in LA was taken care of, the OTF crew flew back to Chicago on the same day as if nothing had happened. But because of all the dumb mistakes that they made, it was easy for them to become suspects. In fact, it was even alleged that Lil Durk would have his phone tapped by the police, as he even got recorded talking about how he would take out anyone who was willing to testify against him. And there might be a good reason for the statement, as he was likely snitched on by his very own friend, OTF Jam. Now you see, in 2010, OTF Jam would be convicted on an attempted murder charge, and he would later be released in 2022 when he was welcomed back home by Lil Durk with open arms. Durk even went as far as giving him a car, a house, and 50 grand in cash for his transition back into normal life. Durk would even rap about the situation on a song titled Back Again. He rapped, "Jam got out there jam, I give him 50 and gotta ask again." It's clear that Jam had a lot of love for Durk up until earlier this March, when he would be arrested on gun charges. Keep in mind, he was just 2 years out from his 12-year sentence, and it looked like he didn't want to go back to the pit, so he would eventually get a deal with the police and start wearing a wire around Lil Durk. And to make it even worse, he began snitching on the Lil Pop situation, as he openly told officers that apart from the money, Lil Durk was also offering up lucrative record deals to anyone who could get the job done, and even Work 100 chimed in on DJ Vlad, wondering how else would the police know about record deals if it wasn't for a snitch.
They got wiretaps, allegedly, that Durk is saying, get these people out the way. Damn.
According to the indictment, multiple individuals tied to OTF coordinated the plot and discussed payments after the alleged attempt on Quando's life. The plan allegedly involved offering music industry opportunities and cash rewards in exchange for the killing of Quando.
How would they know that music contracts was offered? Who would have to tell them that?
Well, there's a guy named OTF Jam.
That was wired.
Very ironic name.
Jam
now
got
he
him
put
in a
everyone in a
jam.
jam.
Snitching is a very sensitive topic for Lil Durk, as he claims it's something that he hates more than anything. Because you see, above all else, in the streets, you gotta keep the code. It's a little bit unclear now, but if the case is really as strong as it looks, Lil Durk could be joining his father with that life sentence. Or even worse, he might even get a death penalty. And for his fans hoping that he gets bail, I strongly suggest that you don't hold your breath, because he was hard trying to flee the country after all, so that's definitely not gonna look well before a judge. But Lil Durk isn't the only rapper in prison, as both of his ops, NBA Youngboy and Quando Rondo, are also facing some serious time behind bars. So click on this video to find out what exactly did they do.